What's up, fungal associates? Welcome to Completely Arbortrary. It's a podcast about trees and other related topics. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Alex Crowson. And of course, over there on the big green couch, we've got Casey Clapp.
Good day, everyone. It's me. All right.
Oh, cool.
Sorry, smoked a lot of cigarettes just then. I cleared myself out.
Hi, Casey.
Ow. Hi, Alex. First off, I just want to say thank you for feeding me.
Oh, yes. Casey was a little peckish before recording. And like, you know, I felt like a mom when like her kids' friends are over.
Oh, is that okay?
And she just brings you like sliced pears and cheddar cheese, you know?
Yeah, just here you go, boys.
Yeah, here. Do you want some of this? Do you want some of this? And I fed Casey.
It did. I felt really good. It felt like I was being showered with gifts, like I was an emissary. It felt great.
I think feeding people is one of my love languages.
Really?
Yeah.
Acts of service. I just learned about love languages. I think in a real way this last weekend with my friend. Yeah, he was telling me all about love languages, and I was like, maybe I should give that some thought. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's one of my more off the menu, so to speak. Love languages is just anytime I go anywhere where there's friends, I bring snacks.
Really?
I just like to feed people.
So this is what's your love languages? You had just that one? Is that the one?
No, of
course. Hey, everyone,
not.
Also listen up here. Listen up here, Alex. What's your love language?
Let's see. Physical touch, of course. But as a guy saying physical touch, it's like I don't just mean sex. Okay.
I also want you to rub my head.
Yeah.
No, not that head. Oh, God.
Wait, I mean, that one works too.
Well, I guess maybe you have two hands, right? So.
Oh, my gosh.
You're gross, Alex.
And then what is the other ones? I don't know.
There is, actually, I'm pulling up my phone specifically to look. Let's see. There's words of affirmation.
That one's big for me.
Acts of kindness.
Sure, of course.
Quality time.
Well, here's the thing. I think all of these are important to me. And I think it's kind of like all of them are important to everyone to varying degrees.
You can pick two.
And I reject your hypothesis.
Oh, it's not a hypothesis. It's very objective, Alex. I am a social love scientist. As I moonlight as an arborist, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Well,
no shade, but I would be very shocked to find this out.
That's okay. Thank you. I would also be kind of shocked to find that out myself. And this is not a bottle of water. It's a Pepsi Twist. You guys remember that? Is that a good one?
What?
I'm making that joke more often, and I'm proud of it, and I will not stop.
Casey, we just had a big rant about several different things that I've edited out completely.
If you took out the Pepsi Twist, I'm going to be pissed.
I'll leave in parts of the Pepsi Twist. They'll get the essence, like an essence of lemon. But, Casey, we're here to talk about trees, of course.
Well, I guess actually today I disagree.
The tree we're talking about today sounds like a fun one, although I've never heard of it. It's called the governor's plum.
That's right.
Oh, it's a bit of a governor's plum, isn't it?
Hey, you got governor's plum, do you?
It sounds a bit like I'm going to start using it as like a catch-22. It's just a real governor's plum.
Oh, I like that. Hey, well, you got yourself a governor's plum here.
But we're going to talk about the governor's plum and maybe the mayor's apple. I don't know. After the break, we'll be right back with Completely Arbortrary. Welcome back.
Maybe, Alex, we could use this also. I was in the break. I was thinking about other ways of saying the governor's plum, the mayor's apple, like the administrator's peach.
The administrator's peach. That's very good.
The councilman's banana. The
countess's mango.
Yes, there you go. The lord's watermelon.
Good.
But I feel like each time it becomes a little bit more of some kind of euphemism.
Sure.
And I can't find a good way to be like, oh, well, what you have there is a lord's watermelon, if you know what I mean.
if you know what I mean, so to speak. For me, every time we add a new one, I get further and further from remembering that it's governor's plum.
Okay.
Like, which one's the real one?
We got to stay on target. Sorry, everyone. Alex, that's the one we're talking about.
Great. This is a scientific name. It's indica something.
It is. This is Flacourtia indica.
Is indica plum?
No, indica means actually of India.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, generally speaking.
Or of marijuana.
Yeah, or into couch, baby.
All right. But this is not a plum, I'm assuming, a real plum.
It is. That is correct. It is not, in fact, a real plum.
Okay. Well, Casey, let's imagine that we are I got it out of you. We're in India.
Oh.
And we come across some governor's plums, so to speak. Let's ID this tree.
That sounds great. So funny enough, it's called Flacourtia indica, but it's actually native to like sub-Saharan Africa.
No kidding.
Yes.
Okay.
It is one of those that ended up being found after it was taken into cultivation. So they called it that place, that thing, but it's not really technically of there.
Classic.
It's very classic. So you can find it as a small shrub or a large shrub or small tree from Africa to Asia. But it's been introduced in a lot of places because, of course, it has this little plum that you can eat. Apparently it tastes a lot like a little plum, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So generally speaking, it grows in like almost every kind of habitat you can ever imagine.
Cool.
So I said that it has been introduced. It's been introduced widely. If it's been introduced widely, that's kind of sometimes code for it's kind of invasive all over the place. So it is. It's about 15 feet tall on average. It's about 5 meters, but it can get up to 50 feet tall, which is 15 meters.
Okay.
And it is a shrubby-ish, small tree-ish, pokey little guy that has spines that come out and these evergreen kind of waxy-looking leaves. So when you imagine like an invasive plant, it kind of like it gives me the sense that it is the definitional invasive tree, where it doesn't really look beautiful. You're not super stoked about it. It kind of grows up and looks kind of shrubby, but it can grow into a tree if you get it. It's got thorns on it. It grows in the kind of ignored lots in the places that you're like, who cares? That's just disturbed whatever land. Poof, you find it growing there.
Ditches and...
Yeah,
okay.
That kind of thing. So
DMZs.
It's exactly where no one wants to go. There might be a landmine. This tree will be growing there.
Interesting.
So that is like what you'll see. As you get closer, you'll notice the bark is like pale gray. It's described as powdery, which means kind of like the aspen, where like you can kind of rub off a little bit of the outer kind of like stuff that's on it.
Is that bloom? Is that stomatal bloom?
Yeah, I think it's more or less bloom, but it's not really stomatal. It can grow on a stem or something like that, where it's glaucous is what it's called if it's on a stem, or just has this kind of powdery covering.
Oh yeah, well we talked about something last week.
We did talk about something last week.
Oh, the white spruce, glaucous.
Yeah, so that when it's on the leaves, it is often considered, well, I should say, there's two different things. There's stomatal bloom.
Yeah, I wasn't sure the difference.
They're pretty much the same thing. They're both produced by the epidermis of the leaf or the stem, whatever it is.
Okay.
However, so there's some that are very much related to the stomata, which tend to be on the bottom side of the leaves. Those are the two lines, you see on conifer leaves. Mm-hmm. There's often more than one line, but there's also bloom that goes kind of over the top of everything, where it's just like a small covering, like what you'd see on a grape or a blueberry or something like that.
Just a kind of a waxy coating.
Exactly. But as soon as you rub your finger on it, it kind of goes away.
So stomatal bloom is specific to conifer leaves, as you called them.
Not necessarily. Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
What does stomata mean?
Stomata are pores at that are on a leaf.
So So it is leaf specific.
It is leaf specific. Yes.
Okay, got it.
So stomatal bloom versus kind of glaucous covering.
Sure.
Essentially the same thing, kind of producing the same thing, but one's associated with a certain other cell type and the other's not.
I understand now.
All right. So you'll look, you'll find it. It's a little flaky. The bark's kind of pale orange. It's kind of utility bark, but it's kind of messy utility bark is the way that I imagine it. It's kind of bark that you're like, okay. It's like, that's fine. It's grayish. It kind of flakes away. I don't know. I think if you use your imagination, you can say, oh, that looks actually kind of nice. But I think as you get closer to it, I think you're like, nah. That seems like super normie. I'm not interested.
Alex is actually really cute from far away.
Yeah, but if you get closer, you'll notice spines and his skin's really flaky. It's not something you really want to get involved with. I
have nice skin. Casey was making a joke.
His skin is beautiful, everyone. Remember, touch. So you look at the leaves. That's the next obvious thing that you're going to see. And the leaves they're kind of normal. They're very fun. Yeah. I don't want to get us caught off on the wrong start. Okay, I don't want to start us off on the wrong foot here.
These trees suck.
That's what I was worried you were going to say, and I don't want you to be there.
Well, now it's just your responsibility to bring me back from the edge.
Okay, perfect. So these leaves, I think, are actually kind of cute. They are about 2 to 4 inches, maybe up to 5 inches long. They're kind of orbicular in some cases, which is basically kind of circular, or they're a little bit more elliptic where they are kind of oval shaped.
Orbicular.
Yes, it's like it's an orb. Isn't that a great term? So they often are this like bright kind of lime green color, and they tend to have little bumps around the edge, so their margin looks kind of like it is maybe a little bit serrated, but also looks like they're kind of just big lobes, or like small lobes, I guess.
It's a soft serration.
It really is. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Like a dull bread knife.
Yeah, yes, like a kind of comically large dull bread knife, where each one of those little dull bits is kind of like this big bloop, bloop, bloop.
It's not terrible looking. So far, it's the best part of the tree.
Oh, okay. You think so?
Not great.
Okay, not great. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I think they're kind of okay. I think they're nice leaves. They also are slightly coriaceous, which means you can kind of like see the veins kind of pop out on top and that kind of thing.
Interesting.
So they are dioecious, which means that you have two different kinds of flowers on two different trees. So you have male flowers on male trees. They produce the pollen. Then you have female flowers on female trees. They receive the pollen and create the fruit. So you're not going to get fruit necessarily from everything, but some female trees do have perfect flowers. So keep in mind, kind of like the ginkgo, where like one branch is just like weird for some reason.
Yeah,
happens here too.
Interesting.
Just so you know,
and not like the whole tree will have perfect flowers, but just like a couple of them.
Yes, one to several branches is what I read.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like these aberrant little growths are just like, we're perfect, and the rest of the tree is like, shut up.
You might call it a sport.
You might call it a sport, Alex Crowson.
I can remember stuff.
You guys, judges, 1 point to Alex Crowson for that.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you just said one term. Okay, don't get too ambitious over there. So the flowers, the male flowers, they're in axillary racemes, which means where the leaf pops out, they kind of pop out. Is that too much for you?
So many fucking things. Everything is something new.
Yeah, this is kind of nice. Although it's a very common thing for a lot of plants. Chestnuts do this, in fact.
Axillary raceme. Well, I know what a raceme is.
Yes. What is it?
It's like a type of flower.
Yeah.
A structure, a flower structure.
Exactly. Central stem with flowers that kind of radiate off of that with little tiny pedicels, those little flower stems. Then the axillary part, that means that it comes from the axil between where the leaf leaves the stem. So it's kind of like if you put your hand out, your hand or your arm is the stem of a leaf, so that's the petiole.
The flower's coming out of your armpit.
Right out of your armpit. Exactly.
Okay.
So that is where these first little racemes pop out. They're kind of slender. They're not really important. But the females, they are in short racemes. They're solitary. And they produce these little kind of circles. Like they're very short. So if you look them up, they actually don't even look really like racemes, because they kind of just look like these little poofy flowers, like kind of... I don't know, they look like little starbursts, or like literal, not the candy, like little bursts of flowers, of stars. I don't know. I don't know the way to describe these little guys. They look like these little funny globes.
That kind of flower, I always describe it as like a firework, like midway through blowing up.
Yes, okay, thank you. I was struggling, obviously, to figure out a good way to describe it. That's exactly it. Yeah. Like it looks like you just snap a photo right as it's about to like really peak, you know?
Yeah.
Totally. So the thing, though, that everyone's actually really interested in is the governor's plum.
Yeah.
It's a tiny little fruit. It's about the size of a small plum, like your normal everyday plum. Reddish to blackish when ripe. It's very fleshy. And if you eat it, it tastes either like a little astringent if you're a little on the early side, a little acidic, or it can be like really sweet. So it kind of has the whole plum style, like spiciness of the outside, and you bite in, it has that sweet kind of acidic fruit. Apparently it's pretty good. It's obviously planted and grown all over the place. It's been introduced all over the world.
Is it a like, do people grow it for the plum?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, is it a propagated thing?
I believe they do exactly. Propagated? Yeah, because they eat it either cooked or raw, and apparently it's quite tasty. It's used in jams, preserves, jellies. It's very big in Ayurveda, the traditional medicine in India. Yeah. So it's used, the bark is used for that, the leaves are used for that, the roots are used for that to treat all different conditions from fever to diarrhea, inflammation. The leaf is used, like all sorts of stuff. So it's very much a very commonly cultivated plant for all the different parts, but certainly the fruit itself is very tasty, so people use it.
That's great. This is winning me back a little bit, actually.
Okay, you're back on a little. That's been good.
I will say the color of the flesh inside the fruit is like gorgeous.
Give us what do you see? What
it looks like a you know that cocktail tequila sunrise.
I think so, but I don't know if I've ever really had one.
It's kind of like a gradient of like red and orange.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
It just looks like a very rich orange, and it's beautiful.
It does look really good. Yeah, see, that just reminds me of a plum. Like it really, it's not a plum. Like, in fact, we get to talk about that just in a second. It is not very closely related to these plants at all.
That's interesting because it is very plummy.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of it's one of those really interesting, like, obviously convergent evolution, because this is actually in the willow family.
What?
Pow, Alex.
That's amazing.
Isn't it amazing?
I'm a little sleepy today, but I want to express that. That is amazing.
I also think this is amazing.
I don't get that vibe at all.
Neither would I.
Weird.
And you know who else doesn't get that vibe?
India.
Everybody who's ever looked at this plant before, including, I suppose, India. Yeah, probably. So here's the thing. The reason that I even found this tree and wanted to talk about it in the first place is that, shameless plug, I wrote a tree ID book. That tree ID book, I needed to write an introduction to a family called Salicaceae. That's the willow family.
Yeah, sure.
Or Salicaceae, if you really prefer that pronunciation.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, well, what plants do we have in here? Mostly where we live, which is in, obviously, Portland, Oregon. But if you're in the northern hemisphere, you will find that there are two genera, actually, I should say, that are in the willow family that are everywhere. That's the poplars, which includes the cottonwoods and the poplars and aspens. And then there's also the willows.
Sure.
These are all very much northern latitude cold plants. The biggest, best, easiest difference between them that you can see, which is kind of like, it's one of those things where there's just kind of like, what's the difference between a frog and a toad? Well, generally toads do this and frogs do that, but there's not really like a...
Alligator and crocodile.
Well, those have particular differences, like I think, but I don't know. But yes, you're on the right page where it's just kind of like, well, there's not really like a technical difference. They're all the same thing, but some just prefer different habitats and do different things. So in this case, willows tend to be shrubbier, smaller, or even as like low-growing herbs.
Yeah.
Versus cottonwoods, poplars, and their ilk, anything in populus, tends to be a much taller, bigger growing tree.
I see. Yeah, I feel like most willows I see up here in the Pacific Northwest are like on the edge of like a field, and they're just like low and orbular. What was that? Orbicular. Orbicular.
You know what? I'll let you have that. Yeah.
Orbital. And I never see any like big, beautiful willows, I feel like.
Yeah, well, you only really see like the weeping willows or something like that.
Sure, yeah.
Like maybe the white willows. So
do we have weeping willows here?
Oh yeah, they're all over the place. Oh. Yeah. There's hey, if you go to Delta Park, there's a whole beautiful row of them next to a little drainage area.
I will never go to Delta Park.
God, Alex, you know what? I respect you because you draw a line, but that is a ridiculous line.
I've seen willows in Alabama. Weeping willows in Alabama.
Yeah, totally. They're all over the place. That actually might be a different species, but you'll have to go back and listen to our old weeping willow episode to get it.
No, thanks.
Oh, okay. Well, everyone else, you should do that. Sorry, Alex.
Okay, so the willows and the poplars.
Yes. So those are really the big two that are in this family.
Which is Salicaceae.
Salicaceae.
Okay.
Now, here's the fun thing.
Oh, wow.
Here is what we are actually here to talk about.
Oh.
This plant, our tree, which is Flacourtia indica, Flacourtia, was once not in the Salicaceae.
Oh.
They were in a family called Flacourtiaceae.
Oh, wow. Is that one of those like... what do you call that? A single tree makes up a family?
Monotypic. No, it's not, in fact.
Okay.
It is not a monotypic genus, not a monotypic family.
Wow.
I should note there is about 23 species or so in the genus Flacourtia.
Never once heard of it.
Yes. No, and honestly, there's no reason that you should. You especially should not have heard of Flacourtiaceae, Alex.
To be fair, I've only heard of 209 trees.
Well, anyway, the reason I bring up Flacourtiaceae is because it is now a defunct family.
Defunct?
It does not exist anymore.
Oh my gosh.
So it's taken away and everything has been moved into other families.
Unincorporated territory.
Exactly. Now, the reason that I wanted to bring this up, because as I was reading through all these things, I'm like, okay, willows, what do we got? What's going on? I ended up stumbling across Flacourtiaceae as a family that introduced me to a term that I was like, oh my God, I've heard of this, but not in such a particular sense.
Oh my gosh, what is it?
It is a wastebasket taxon.
Wastebasket taxon.
That's right.
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
Because he wanted to get a wastebasket taxon.
The wastebasket. I'm going to try to reverse engineer what this could mean, just because I want to have fun.
I think this is the right move.
Wastebasket.
Yeah.
Well, a wastebasket is something where you throw things away that you don't need anymore. A taxon, taxonomy, like the names of things.
Okay.
That's all I got, Case.
All right, you're pretty good there. All you did was define the two terms, and I think that's all we need. That's all we needed. I'll explain.
Okay, please.
So a taxon is some discrete unit of taxonomy. So a species is a taxon.
Okay.
But also, a variety is a taxon. So you have one species with two subspecies or two varieties. Each variety is itself a taxon. So it's just one lowercase t discrete unit.
Okay.
You could also say a family is a taxon. So it's very much a broad term. Say, well, that taxon as a family has all these genera.
It's kind of like a taxonomic clade.
Exactly. Yes, that's a very good way to describe it.
Cool.
So it can kind of be a little bit of both. And a clade, of course, is when you have a whole branch of a family tree, right?
Yeah. But a clade you define.
Yes,
There's
exactly.
no such thing as a clade. Like, this is a clade. It's like, that's a clade and that's a clade. It's a clade because I'm calling it a clade.
Exactly. It's a lowercase term.
Yeah.
It's very much a broad, easy description of something.
Interesting. Okay.
So a wastebasket taxon is essentially a taxonomic group that historically has been used to just throw everything in if you didn't know where they belonged.
Okay, Casey and I own a business, and when I get on our QuickBooks, there sometimes things pop up, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this is. I don't know where to put it. I don't know how to categorize it.
Oh, yes.
So I just categorize it as Ask Accountant.
Yeah.
And this is the taxonomic version of that.
Exactly.
We don't know where to put this.
Yeah, it's just like all these weird things. Now, in 1975, this guy, this taxonomist named Herman Slumer, another slimy name, noted Flacourtiaceae as a family is a fiction, and then goes on to note these other things about the kind of the little bits and parts inside. But essentially, this taxon was created so that someone said, okay, well, here's this plant. Great. Flacourtiaceae, it's in that family. Good. Okay, what's this thing? Oh, well, that doesn't look like anything I've ever seen before. Let's just throw that over there into Flacourtiaceae.
Sure.
So it became this place.
We'll get back to these.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's the idea that you can't really give them any place to stay. So you just say, go over there, and we're just going to jam you all into this kind of random, no real evolutionary phylogenetic relationship, nothing like that. It's just, there you go, we'll deal with you later.
Interesting.
And then at some point, in the latter half of the last century, some people finally said, we need to dial this in. We need to figure this out.
Yeah.
But Alex, this happens all over biology.
Really?
It happens most often with old fossils.
Wow. Oh, of course.
We don't know where they came from. We find like this little tiny half fossil of a jaw of something, and we're like, I know that it's probably in this group, so we're just going to push it over here.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a big dinosaur. We're going to call it a megalodon or something like that. So it just
but if you have no frame of reference for what this thing could be, there's nowhere to start.
There's nowhere to start. And the alternative would be giving it its own everything. So you're like, well, we don't know where this fits. So either we're going to shove them all together and say, well, these might have to do with each other, or because we can't find where they would go with whatever else, or we split them all out and now we have these 10 million random,
Yeah.
like almost completely undefined and undefinable families.
That's unreasonable.
It's unreasonable. So it's more reasonable to create a wastebasket and just throw everything else in there.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of also thought it might happen a lot with insects, just because there are so many of them.
Yes, honestly, there might be. There might be, but I haven't read specifically that is actually the case.
But yeah, fossils makes way more sense.
That is where I found most of it. But there has been some with like certain mammals that they found and worm-like animals called vermes, which they're like, whoa, we don't really know what to do. So this is like an old thing from Carl Linnaeus, the OG, along with Lamarck. And they're like, well, it looks like a worm. We're just going to put it with the worms.
Yeah.
You are a worm now. No matter where it came from or, anything like that in terms of its evolutionary sense.
That's really interesting. That's such an interesting concept that, like, you find something... I always forget that, like, we are discovering science as we go.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, these things don't come with a name tag. And the idea of, like, this thing looks unlike anything else we have.
Yeah.
There is no place to put it because it does not belong in any of these groups.
Yeah.
So put it over here in my inbox and I'll deal with it later.
In the random section,
Yeah, in the wastebasket.
Yeah. So
I don't think you should call it a wastebasket, by the way. I think they should call it like a junk drawer.
Okay. So this they also have dustbin taxon.
No, because that's the same thing. Because then you're taking it out to the trash and putting it in the garbage.
Yes. The last one, according to Wikipedia, is catch-all taxon.
That's fine.
That's fine.
But I like the object, Yeah.
The
junk drawer taxon.
Junk drawer. So go in there in that junk drawer and see if you can find anything new.
Yeah. Go see if this matches anything in the junk drawer.
Yeah, exactly. And then, cool, yeah. And that's happened with fossils of dinosaurs.
Sure.
Where they kind of go through this junk drawer and they're like, oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
And we've learned new science. We found another fossil that's bigger that we can now compare it to. Mm-hmm. So every now and then that does happen where someone's like, oh.
This looks just like something that I found like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Go check the wastebasket taxons. And then you suddenly, all the pieces fall together.
Everything starts coming together.
That's extremely cool.
Yeah.
If it wasn't such a boring job, I'd love to do this for a living.
What a switch that was right then. You're just like, oh, that's so cool. But man, if that job wasn't so boring, which is it? Is it cool or boring, Alex?
It's both.
All right,
just look at me.
I'm
cool and boring.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You are a wastebasket taxon.
You know what? I really appreciate that. Been waiting to hear those words my whole life.
You're a junk drawer taxon.
Okay, that's enough.
So this whole family, the Flacourtiaceae, which, as a point of order, I need to note, love Flacourtiaceae, hate Flacourt. I don't like the term Flacourt or whatever. I don't even know if I'm putting the right emphasis in the right place.
Yeah.
Mr. Flacourt.
It sounds like an onomatopoeia. Flacourt.
Yeah, it does. I love that. But Flacourtiaceae, it sounds way more elegant.
Yeah, Flacourtiaceae. Yeah. Just rolls off the tongue,
It does, yeah. So add some more to your name, Flacourt, and be cool. So there used to be 79 or like up to 90 different genre in this family.
In Flacourtiaceae?
Yes.
Wow.
And then they moved almost all of them, including the type genus Flacourtia, over to Salicaceae, and then a couple other random little guys.
Okay, so most of them went to the same home.
Yes, they are all in the willow family.
That's interesting.
For the most part, not all of them.
Let me ask you this.
Please.
Why?
Well, it turns out that the willow family is not quite so northern-centric as we used to think. So we have known the Salicaceae as being very much like filled with these trees that we up here in the northern hemisphere are very familiar with. They are the temperate trees, and that is the best, biggest examples. Your poplars and your willows. Willows, there's like so many different species. So in this case, they basically said, well, we already have this Salicaceae. It already exists. As we look down and get really into the botany and try to figure out where these other taxon, where all these other genera should go, they end up saying, well, if we're going to move them or if we're going to kind of sort this out, if there's a better fit that already exists that takes precedent, then we have to put them all over there.
Okay.
So because the Salix family, Salicaceae, the willow family, was already created before Flacourtiaceae. That gives that family the prestige, and everything gets to go to it first.
It would be kind of weird to split up Flacourtiaceae and be like, you four are going to Pinus, you four, Pinaceae.
Wow.
You 10 are going over here. So it makes sense that because they were all one family to begin with, the Flacourtiaceae, to just like take that family, uproot them, and put them in another family.
Yes, yeah, but that's what they did. They're like, cool. Well, you all together, we know that the genus is real. So we can say this genus exists. That is unique, and they're separate from all the other genre around them.
And the genus would be
Flacourtia.
Okay.
Yes. That is easily moved into a new family where it fits better.
Right.
And we do that all the time. We break up families and we smash them together. We create a new genre and we say, okay, this genus is too much. So we create new genus for this one, a new genus for that one, a new genus for this one.
Interesting.
So it happened like with sorbus recently also, which is the European mountain ash or rowan tree. We split that up and now we have a couple different genre. So imagine that happening now in the one level up in that hierarchy, where now they say, okay, this family is actually just complete boulder dash. We actually are going to move this where it fits over here, and we're going to move this one where it fits over there. This genre needs its own family because it is unique, and then they erect that new genre, and then there you go.
Interesting.
So it really is like this fascinating like way that we organize things, and we made these obscure, somewhat arbitrary, but somewhat not really arbitrary rules where we say, this is how we're going to switch them up. We're going to be consistent the whole time. And we are no longer going to treat the things that we just can't figure out in some way that is not really accurate is really what it comes down to.
So is there, I guess I maybe missed this or didn't connect a dot, but is there still a wastebasket of taxons that are uncategorizable?
I'm sure that there are some,
Okay.
But I don't know in particular how many are still around.
Okay.
Because in the late 1900s, people were kind of like, okay, we got to do this.
Yeah.
Like we can't just ignore this.
A little spring cleaning.
Yeah, exactly. Because scientists and taxonomists are very much people who love the details and they love to have everything sorted out just right. And they still argue about things to this day that, seem like they're necessarily settled science. Sure. But we still go back and forth. So in this case, this was not settled science almost by definition. So everyone's like, okay, we need to have some grad student, some scientist, somebody go and sort this out. So that is what happened, sometime over the last 50 years or so. We started to split them all up. But it is really just one of those interesting things that keeps reminding me, Alex, personally, that everything we have, is completely made up. Yeah. Like, we literally have a section of things that we're like, we don't know what you are, so we're just going to put you all in this junk drawer taxon. Yeah. Because we just can't figure it out. Because you don't fit our own rules, and we're frustrated by that.
Yeah, that is a nice realization that like science is like human made.
Yeah, totally. Now the other thing is it reminds me that the world is so much more complex than it really seems on the surface. So this is a plant that theoretically, and according to like the phylogeny group, like the people who study DNA to find the evolutionary relationships between plants, they are like, okay, this is definitely related to the willows and the poplars, but the fruit is so completely different. And there are other plants like that have grown in New Zealand or somewhere that have very close relations to the raspberries up here. Right. But they look completely different. Like, not like so outrageously different that you're just like, that's impossible they're together, but just different enough where you're like, that is a stunning amount of change.
Taxonomic organization.
Yeah.
Is it based kind of like 50-50 on DNA and appearance or like botany,
No.
Or is it only DNA?
I think right now they're moving more and more towards DNA.
Okay. I kind of thought it was like, this is technically closer related to this thing, but it looks just like this other thing. I guess Governor's Plum is a counterexample.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
It looks just like a plum, but it's in this butt fuck,
who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should have said butt fuck. Sorry.
Well, you are all about it today.
Okay. Enough with... You're weaponizing my love language against me.
I'm sorry, Alex. It's just, it just feels like we're in a real emperor's tomato right now.
Okay, that's the last one. You've had your fun.
Okay, all right. I think, so right now, the way that I understand kind of the taxonomic groupings, where we've done a very good job as botanists who just look very closely at things and say, okay, I'm going to watch this as it's developing, and I'm going to put it into a certain group, and I think it's more closely related to this. Let's take pines for an example. We can look very closely and we can say, okay, we think that this is what the spread looks like in terms of how everything is related, but then we go back in with DNA and we look even closer and we say, aha, actually, this one and this one should be switched because they're just ever so slightly more related for some reason, but they don't look like it because of convergent evolution, or maybe they both grow in the same niche, so they've grown the same kind of response mechanisms, the certain color of their leaves, the certain length of their leaves, the certain size of their cones, these kinds of things.
Maybe this job doesn't sound so boring. You know I love to organize things, Casey.
Oh my God, Alex, this is like organizing to an insane degree.
Sounds like my greatest challenge yet.
Yeah, I think you should become a phylogenal taxonomist.
All right.
That's not the right term. I kind of flubbed that one, but I'm going to stick with it.
Phylogenal taxonomist.
Yeah.
That's good.
Phylogenetic taxonomist.
What do you do? I'm a phylogenetic taxonomist.
Where are you going? Yeah, I think that would be funny, man. I honestly, if that was your calling after all this time in this podcast, you Google that and you're like, I'm going to go get a PhD in phylogenetic taxonomy because this is one of the most fascinating things. Now you just put it like, oh, I'm just organizing things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we're talking.
This is great to know.
Before we go to a break, I just want to say, everybody go look up the rocket science sketch from Kids in the Hall.
Okay.
It's very relevant. I promise.
Oh man. Well, anyway, there you go. So this is Flacourtia.
Okay.
It is. I don't know. I kind of feel a little bit bad for this tree, or the whole family. I feel like it was almost stripped of its coat of armor.
Yeah.
They're like, you're a complete fake. You're a fraud. You're actually underneath here. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So now they're just this minor house that has no family of their own.
That is a little sad. I salute Flacourt, the man.
Yeah.
And I agree with all of his politics.
Oh, no.
I'm not even going to research him.
I'm not even going to look into it.
Casey, we got to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to give this Governor's Plum a bit of a review, a bit of a Count's Carrot.
Yes, I'd agree. I'd be very happy to do that with you, Alex. The Count's Carrot is, my favorite sport.
I was over in Westminster with a bit of the Count's Carrot, yes?
Oh, were you, my boy?
We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Completely Arbortrary. I made a mistake. It wasn't Kids in the Hall. It was Mitchell and Webb look.
Yes, so sorry. We did just watch it, though.
I confused it with another sketch that I pulled up before that. The sarcasm guy.
Oh, man. That was good.
Yeah.
Everyone, we're all laughing together. Yeah, you paused it. You watched it.
Casey, let's give a review to this Governor's Plum.
All right, let's do it.
And here's how it works. We're going to give some final thoughts on this tree and then give it a rating of 0 to 10 golden cones of honor. As our resident expert, we'll begin with you.
Thank you, Alex. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Did you just get nervous? Are you nervous?
No, I swallowed.
Because you're nervous?
Yeah, I'm pretty nervous.
Yeah, I mean, this is a high-stakes thing.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you're comfortable.
I'm actually having a panic attack.
Oh, no. Well, Alex, I have to remind you, this rating is completely arbitrary.
That's true.
I have like two minds to this tree. So in one aspect, it is a useful tree. It reminds me a lot of the noni.
Yes.
Where it's like this kind of obscure fruit that is useful wherever it grows, but it's kind of probably semi-invasive, kind of just as a tropical vagabond at this point. So I think that this tree...
Bit of a Robinson Crusoe.
It's a bit of a Robinson, exactly. It's a bit of an Admiral's coconut, if you know what I mean.
Admiral's coconut.
Yeah, sorry. I know I wasn't supposed to do another.
That's okay.
So I think that it's kind of fun that it does grow everywhere, and it is kind of useful. So it's kind of like out here we have the the sweet cherry, Prunus avium, where it's an invasive species, but everyone loves the cherries that it makes. So everyone's like, well, that's fine.
Interesting.
And I'm really upset about it. So this, I think I need to give it credit for being a positive tree with lots of uses, and kind of forgive its invasive tendencies. Though as a tree, subpar at best. It grows kind of sillily. It's kind of more shrubby than not. It's really pokey. It's got all those thorns I told you about. So I'm like, I'm going to give this like a 5 straight across the board.
Okay.
Also, you may not know this about me. I don't really prefer plums. Plums,
that's
they're
right.
Fine. They're fine, Alex.
I'm now remembering this about you. Is it at least your least favorite stone fruit, would you say?
Yeah, probably.
Over an apricot?
If I'm thinking about it. I like apricots. I think they're fine.
Wild.
Do you know you know what it is? It's the zing on the outside. It's the zing of the fruit's skin.
Okay.
I don't like, you bite into it, and there's like this kind of spicy, astringent, bit. Everyone loves it. I see you with your eyebrows being like, "Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about."
I just think it adds a nice flavor counterbalance to the sweetness of the flesh.
I guess that's true. The
sweetness of the flesh.
Yes, Alex.
A Hallmark original.
What's your love language?
That's the tagline.
So I didn't know. I'm not a fan of plum. So I don't know. I've never had this kind of plum. Okay. This, kind of plum. But I'd be willing to bet it probably is going to be fine, just like every other plum. So straight across the board, I'm giving it a 5. And this is it's a 5 in the sense of like, I see you, I hear you. No.
Walk away.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
You pat it on the head and then try to forget about it.
Exactly. Although, you know what? I'm going to give it 5.5 for its stolen valor. Where
good.
Its family was taken away and declared a trash bin. I'm like, okay,
literally, yeah.
That is pretty rough. I'm sorry.
That's another reason I don't like that term. It's so derogatory.
Yeah.
Not the junk drawer is that much better. It's actually such a perfect term. I can't believe it's not being used.
You know what? I can go in and change the Wikipedia page.
Well, Casey, I think this governor's plum is a bit of a governor's plum, if you catch my meaning. I think it's I don't know. It's fine.
Give me something more there.
I want to know more about its role in Ayurveda.
Okay.
Is that Ayurveda?
Ayurvedic medicine.
Yeah. I think that's interesting, but I also get the sense you ever meet somebody, first time meeting them, and you walk away from talking to them and you're like, I bet they drive everybody in their life completely crazy.
I don't know about that.
Sometimes it's a random encounter with a stranger.
Yeah, I feel like I could do that with random encounters.
Yeah, not like friends.
Yeah, okay.
But, you just get the sense that everyone hates them.
You know what? I'm like looking over my shoulder right now, being like,
you are not that person. I actually think I'm that person.
Wow, not a chance.
We all think we're that person.
Okay, we're all worried about it.
But I do get that sense with, I'm like, I don't know its reputation, but I'm like, I bet people fucking hate this tree.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Okay.
I think it's like, any fruit tree is tricky because there's such a blessing, but also such a curse. If you don't eat all that fucking fruit, it's fermenting on your sidewalk for weeks.
Nice.
The whole street is going to smell like kombucha. You gotta get it. So I'm going to give this tree, oh boy, I guess growing a delicious fruit gets it a little bit.
Okay.
But I have absolutely no love for the rest of the components.
Really?
Which is a problem.
Nothing.
And I'm a plum guy. It's not my go-to, but if there's a plum around,
perfectly straight down.
If there's a plum around, I'm eating that plum.
Okay, really?
I'm plumbing.
You're a plum fan. You said earlier you like the contrast of the zing and the sweet.
Yes, I think it's a nice compliment. It's one of those like well-rounded fruits,
Even though it is technically more of an oblong ovate shape.
I knew you were going there.
It's because it was obvious.
I'm gonna give this. I think I'm with you, Case. 5.25, a little lower.
Whoa, you're going a quarter step lower.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I do think it's an interesting story, the idea of this sort of like family that was like ripped from its ancestral home.
Yeah.
And kind of like put in this, it's a little like colonial feeling. It's a little diaspora feeling.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah.
It's a little like assimilation. Like, you're a willow now.
Oh, I see.
I don't love that.
Yeah, well, we can think about it also in a way that they are just upstarts who were given their name that they didn't actually really earn. So
that's fair.
There's we could play it that way.
Yeah, that's another perspective. But yeah, I 5.25. Not bad.
I'm okay with that.
He did okay.
I do like the idea though. I want to find other trash bin taxa and see what else is there. See what else is just smashed randomly into some completely oblique and obscure part of the taxonomic hierarchy and be like, who are you?
You know what we could do? We could put all their names on pieces of paper and put them in a hat, draw them, be like, where do we think this belongs?
Oh, yes. And then give a PhD student some work to do.
Yeah.
All right. I'm into it.
Sounds good to me. Casey, that was our review of the Governor's Plum. It's time for a completely arbitrary AMA. If you want to ask a question on the podcast, become a Treemium member at arbitrarypod.supercast.com. This week, we got one from Rich. The title is Drive-By Tree ID.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, Rich. Good to hear from you.
Hi, Rich. Do you ever try to identify trees as you're driving down the road? How accurate can you be? My 4-year-old son knows that I'm a fan of trees, so he'll ask me to name trees while we're driving through neighborhoods. It's a fun game, albeit a little dangerous if you get too distracted. Hard mode is doing it on the highway. Games aside, you guys have inspired me and through me, my son, to learn more about the trees in our area. How great.
Yeah, nice. Rich, thank you.
Thanks, Rich, from Michigan.
Nice.
Drive-by tree ID, Casey.
I love drive-by tree ID.
I think there's like probably, honestly, okay, I had this experience this week. I was driving and I saw a monkey puzzle. Monkey puzzles are the best tree to ID out of your window.
You can do it pretty simply, yeah.
Because they're very easy to see. You don't have to like get closer to them to understand what they are. That's a monkey puzzle, 100%. And they're not so common that you're doing it every 5 seconds. It's kind of like slug bug, you know?
They stand out, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, see, Alex, the thing that you are noticing for the Pay-Win, the monkey puzzle, is the same thing that you can notice for almost every other tree, where it's essentially a silhouette of the tree.
Yeah, totally.
But if you're close enough, you can also see the colors, you can pick out a lot of the texture, but you can do that from the silhouette itself. But it's also it also includes the structure and the form and like, is it upright? What's the architecture like? Does it hang down at the ends or is it just perfectly upright and outwards? Like all the weird teeny tiny little textural things that you can see and pick up that you may not even know that you're seeing and picking up. All comes together to make it so that you can do tree ID from a moving car. I always say the passenger side of a moving car, or maybe just leave it at that. I don't have to tell you if you're driving or not.
I see.
Because I do it all the time while I'm driving. Of course I do. That is a thing that I talk about in the book. I talk about with people who are everywhere all the time. If they're ever like, hey, teach me about tree ID. I'm like, great. Let's just look over at that tree right there and start now.
Cool.
You don't need to be looking at something super close.
And they're like, oh, I was thinking maybe next week.
Like,
sometime.
Oh, sorry. We've been on the clock for the last 20 minutes, man. Sorry. Yeah, so all you got to do is understand kind of what that tree looks like. And then as you step back, so let's say you had a Douglas fir. You look at the leaves of the cone, you're like, okay, this is a Douglas fir.
Sure.
And you walk backwards, and you're like, okay, now I can see the whole tree. Whenever I teach tree ID, I always do the exact opposite, where I say, look at the context first, then look at the form and like get a whole feel for the giant thing in front of you. And then as you go forward, you'll notice all the small textural details that will parse it out really particularly.
You zoom in and in.
Exactly.
Zoom in
You're zooming in.
And you're sort of, I mean, you know, you can look at a tree and clearly be like, well, that's a conifer.
Yes, it's one of the biggest, easiest things to do right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then you also get your different kind of generic forms, the X current versus D current.
Sure.
Where you can say, aha, that one is pointy and tall and columnar. That one is very rounded and has a very spreading canopy that looks like a circle on a stick rather than a triangle on a stick.
Totally.
So all these big things, if you know the trees that are around you, then you can say, okay, well, that's a Douglas fir. I can tell just by the shape and the texture that I can see from the moving vehicle I am in. And especially if that's directly next to another tree that's different, then you can compare really easily texture A to texture B, silhouette A to silhouette B. And if you know that, I know that generally speaking, the Western hemlock tends to have all these attributes and that kind of textural appearance, I bet you that's a Western hemlock.
Right.
I bet you that one is a Western white pine. I bet you that one is a very perfectly triangular giant sequoia. And that is not a coast redwood because their form has a different bit where their branches tip up just ever so slightly at the end. They're way more layered, you know? So if you are familiar with the trees, which of course you have to be first off to kind of know what they look like in order to recognize them. Once you recognize them, easy as can be.
Yeah.
Now, there are some situations where it does get harder, where the tree is kind of more generic, you know?
Like the species or the specimen?
The form.
The individual tree.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or it could be an individual species. So let's say you have a maple and an oak and an elm. Not an American elm, just some other elm. Let's say the English elm.
Okay.
You see them from afar, and all you see is an upright, decurrent tree with more or less a central stem that then has branches that come out. Okay, great. It's hard to tell the difference between those until you get a little bit closer, but you could definitely be like, okay, it's not a hornbeam, it's not a dogwood, it's way bigger than a dogwood, it's not a cottonwood because the black cottonwood has these really big scaffold limbs that come out. These look a little bit different. But you might be able to, get them down to a small grouping, I guess.
Sure.
You know what I
mean? Yeah. I got you. You know what I find really helpful is like, this is kind of general tree ID in general, but
I want you to speak generally here, Alex.
I hate to speak in general's grapes, but one attribute they're like. Anytime I see this one thing, I know 100% what tree this is.
Totally. Yeah. That is super, super helpful.
My two examples.
Yeah. What do you got?
The one that everybody talks about, which is the mouse butts in the Douglas fir cone.
Oh, yeah. On the cone. Yeah.
And there are other, and that's not the only tree that has those.
No, there's dozens of them. Yeah. You can think of one for almost every tree.
That's it's characteristic,
Yeah, totally.
In a way that you can remember. It's like mnemonic. My other one.
Your other two trees, yeah.
Sweet gum. Little gumballs.
Yeah, little gumballs. There you go.
That's an easy one.
Well, so if you're close enough driving down the road and you see those things, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But I guess what an analogous would be is if you can find something like that from the larger kind of silhouette of a tree from further away. So for me, the giant sequoia, it's always a perfect triangle. Like there is never a weird errant branch. It's never going to be really kind of thin looking. Whereas Douglas firs will have kind of really rough kind of texture. Some branches are long, some are short. There's not this perfect triangular silhouette. Then you have a Lawson cypress or the Port Orford cedar, where it just kind of looks like a clump on top of a clump on top of a hump, and it just kind of like almost looks like it's a drooping cascade-y mound that's continuing to grow up. And that one, you're like, okay, I can see all these like big textural differences, and that also has to do with like how big are the leaves. So a catalpa, huge leaves, which means it has big twigs, thick twigs that are also widely spaced for the leaves, versus a hornbeam, which has tiny leaves, so it has smaller twigs that are way tighter together because they don't need to space themselves out enough so they don't shade themselves out. So you can actually find these textual things and say, oh, I noticed these things, which gives me this clue, which tells me it might be this species. And help you get there.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there's lots of ways.
At different levels of closeness.
Yes, different levels of closeness and different levels of understanding which trees are where. If you're driving down Interstate 5 here in the Willamette Valley in Portland, you look out, you can often find trees that are of maybe a dozen or so different species. You can always tell them around because you're like, okay, there's only 12 species to choose from. Maybe half of those are conifers, half those are broadleaf trees. So as soon as I notice it's a conifer, whoosh, you have 6 that are already off the table. Then you can start to say, okay, all these unique attributes to each one of those conifers give it some particular clue that is completely different than the rest of them.
So just having a general knowledge of like the trees around you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alex. One more time.
Pre-order now available.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Rich. Like I said, if you have a question for us on the podcast, arbortrarypod.supercast.com. Support the podcast. Become a Cone Club member. You get monthly cone stickers. When I say cone, we have cones and leaves. Casey's shaking his head.
Shaking my head.
Cones and leaves and acorns and flowers illustrated by different artists, a different species every month. A couple repeats. And this month we got a very fun one. And just know, listen, I emailed Sticker Ninja about Scratch and Sniff. They can't do it. But I just want you to know that I sent the email. I had this idea for a Scratch and Sniff Bradford pear.
What a letdown.
Flower.
That would be so good. What chemical would we want to put in for it?
Oh, you know.
Hi, could you guys just make this into, could you just repeat this over and over?
I brought about 3 gallons with me. Is that enough? Oh, sir, no.
Oh, geez, Alex, that's so horrifying.
Well, Casey, speaking of, before we say goodbye to our friends here, what are your love languages that you've discovered?
Oh, well, now that everyone has...
Speaking of 3 gallons of cum.
Has done it. What is your love language? That's a transition if I've ever heard it. All right, mine, I like to receive words of affirmation and touch.
Okay.
I like to give acts of kindness and quality time.
Lovely.
There you go. Those are my languages.
Solid case.
On the giving and receiving. So apparently it could be different.
Yes, definitely.
I learned that.
Sometimes I like giving gifts, but receiving them makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not a gift giver, and I do give gifts, but I also it's another thing that I think about all the time.
Sure.
And I'm not a materialistic person.
Well, I would counter that by saying I've thought about this.
I am a gift myself. You're right.
Okay. My time with me is a gift. That's why they call it the present. Oh,
good.
The gift giving thing. I always interpret that as like, I know you love mangoes, and I saw a really good mango at the grocery store, so I picked it up on the way. Yeah, it's not like I bought you a diamond ring.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Yeah, it's like just to know that you're thinking about me.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Something small. It could be something you found.
Exactly. And I would be like, you know what? You're the governor's plum.
And with that, we say thank you so much for listening to this episode of Completely Arbortrary. Hey, we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone. Completely Arbortrary is hosted by Casey Clapp and Alex Crowson.
Our music is by Aves and the Mini Vandals, and our artwork is by Jillian Barthold.
To support the podcast and get rewards in return, become a Treemium member at arbortrarypod.supercast.com.
Thanks for listening.